I needed money, so I started babysitting in college to make ends meet. The last time I babysat, I had the creepiest experience of my life. I worked for a woman who had 3 children, 2 of them small and 1 of them a teenager. When I got to the house, I met the younger 2, and before the woman left, I asked her about her oldest. She told me I wouldn't have to worry about her daughter tonight. Her oldest daughter was mad because she couldn't go to some party, so she would stay in her room all night anyway. Things were pretty normal. I stayed downstairs with the 2 youngest playing games with them. At dinner time, I left the 2 little ones at the kitchen table, and I went upstairs to the oldest daughter's bedroom and knocked on her door. She didn't answer. I tried again. I told her that dinner was downstairs if she wanted some. All I heard on the other side of the door was her crying. Then, she started walking fast back and forth across her room with heavy footsteps. She was still crying. I told her she could talk to me if she wanted to. I had been young and sad once, just like her, so I knew what it was like. But I left her alone up there and let her have her space. After eating dinner with the other 2, I put a movie on and we watched it in the living room. About an hour in, I went upstairs and knocked on the oldest daughter's door again. I asked her if she was okay. She was talking softly on the other side of the door, but she wouldn't answer it. Her voice seemed odd, like maybe she was sick or something. I couldn't understand what she was saying. I assumed she was talking to a friend on the phone. Before I put the 2 little ones to bed, the mother called me. She seemed angry. She asked how things were with the kids and if everything was all right. Everything is fine, I told her. I just put the 2 little ones to bed. Your daughter is still up. I think she's upset, but she's talking to someone on the phone. Maybe she's working it out. I've just left her alone for the night. The mother stopped talking. It sounded as if she stopped breathing. She lowered her voice. What are you talking about? What do you mean my daughter is still up talking to someone? I started to explain how her daughter was up and walking around in her bedroom, how I could see the light on underneath her door and see her shadow as she paced back and forth. I can hear her voice, I said. But that's when the mother interrupted me. Listen to me carefully, she said. Get the other 2 and get out of the house. My daughter is here with me. I had to pick her up from a party she snuck out to. I don't know who's in her room, but that's not her. My heart nearly stopped. I peeked back upstairs. I could see her daughter's bedroom door. It was still shut. Part of me wanted to run out of that house, but that meant I would leave her 2 young boys alone with whoever was inside the house. I grabbed a knife from the kitchen and crept upstairs. I kept my eyes on her daughter's bedroom door the whole time I went past it and down the hall. It stayed closed, and I finally reached the door of the other 2 children's bedroom. I turned and opened that door, and when I turned back around, I saw her daughter's bedroom door was open part way. There was someone inside her room. They were wearing some kind of mask, so I couldn't see their face. But through the holes in the mask, I saw their eyes. They were looking right at me. I turned and ran into the children's bedroom and slammed the door shut. I grabbed one of the chairs and pushed against the door and under the doorknob. They woke up and asked me what was wrong. I got both of them and we hid in the corner of the room. I told them to be quiet. Their mother had told me she was calling the police, but I called them anyway. While I whispered to the police that there was someone in this house, the bedroom doorknob started to turn. Whoever it was, he was going to try and get in here. The children started crying. I was barely holding back tears. And that's when the sounds of police sirens sounded in the distance. They were fast approaching, followed by flashing red and blue lights. I heard heavy footsteps as whoever was inside the house ran down the hallway and to the stairs. Then, I heard the front door swing open and crash into the wall. I didn't have the nerve to get up and check to see if the intruder had left. We didn't leave the room until the police came into the house. We all started crying. The mother and her daughter came home, and the whole family held each other. I was sitting on the hood of one of the police cars when one of the officers approached me. He asked if I'd seen the man that broke into the house or knew anything about him. I told him I didn't know anything about the intruder, and they still haven't caught him. I moved into a little apartment on the west side of the city with my daughter Laura. Apartment 36. We were looking for a new start and trying to get away from her father. I loved the man, but he was abusing drugs and needed to get clean before he could be a father to her. I was flat broke at the time, so I would leave my daughter with a babysitter down the hall named Anna while I went to work. One night, I picked up my little girl from Anna's when Anna stopped me and told me something strange. "Terrell," she said to me. "I don't mean to alarm you, but Laura said something a little strange to me. She said there was a man in her closet. He keeps her up at night." Anna kept her voice at a whisper since Laura was asleep in my arms. She told me he keeps trying to get her to play with him. I sighed. It was a long day at work, and I wasn't ready to handle Anna's lecturing on how I should raise my child. "I'll talk with her, thank you." "Terrell, I think you should know some." "I'll talk with her." I cut her off. "Thank you, Anna." When I put my daughter in bed that night, she stirred and opened her eyes. "Mommy, can you make sure the closet door is shut?" "Why, baby?" "That man in the closet. He keeps waking me up. He never sleeps." I was sitting on the edge of her bed. The only light on in her room came from a little blue princess nightlight against the wall. I turned around and looked to the closet. The door was open about 2 inches. I was exhausted and didn't feel up to having a conversation with Laura about her imagination. "Yes, baby. I'll close it." I kissed her goodnight. On my way out, I shut the closet door, and then I left her door halfway open. Later that night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed in the dark, and I heard whispering from down the hall. As I walked down the hallway to her bedroom, I noticed it was completely dark. The nightlight was out. Then I heard Laura whispering in her room. "No," she said. "Mommy said no. Leave me alone." "Laura?" I opened her door and turned on the light. Laura was in bed under the covers. Her closet door was wide open. "Laura, did you open the closet?" She sat up and shook her head. "It was Benny. He woke me up, Mommy. I told him we can't play at night." I sighed and went to my daughter's bed. "Laura, listen to me. I know it's been hard without your dad. I know you love him. But this pretend friend that you're seeing, he's not pretend Mommy." She buried herself under the blankets. She refused to come out or even speak to me. I couldn't stop myself. I raised my voice. "Laura, this is ridiculous. There is no one in your room. Now go to sleep." I walked by her closet and slammed the door shut. I turned out the light. I stomped down the hall and back to my bedroom where I shut the door and started to cry. It was all too much. Leaving her father, barely able to make rent, and now dealing with her mental health. I cried myself to sleep. But at 2 a.m., I woke up to the sound of her whispering. I was groggy, and I sat up and faced my bedroom doorway. "Laura, did you open my door?" Laura stood at the doorway. She was up against the wall, peeking into the room. "Mommy, Benny is really mad. He wants to play." "Baby, I told you, there is no one in your room." "No, Mommy. He's not in my room." I froze. Her words brought me fully awake. I hung my legs off the side of the bed, but before I stood up, I saw a strange shadow on the wall. It looked like a man. Then I heard a soft sound behind me, someone breathing. "He wants to play with you, Mommy." I felt paralyzed. I started to turn my head to look at whoever was behind me in my bedroom. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw his shadow. He didn't move. Then I heard the sound of the floorboards creak in front of me. I looked back at his shadow. He lunged forward from that shadow, straight out of the wall. He was pale and tall and skinny. Patches of his face had fallen off. His arms were stretched out for me, his fingers curling like claws to grab me. I screamed and jumped backward off the bed. "Mommy!" I ran to my little girl and scooped her up into my arms. I made it to the living room, then to the front door. I grabbed the doorknob when I heard him whispering from the darkness behind me. "Don't leave. Come on, stay with me, play with me." I bolted out of the apartment and spilled into the hall. I went to the only place I could, Anna's apartment. Anna let us stay with her. I called the police and told them someone snuck into our apartment, but they didn't find anyone. It was about 5 in the morning, and I was still wide awake sitting on Anna's couch with her. Laura was asleep in my lap. We watched an old rerun on TV when Ann whispered to me. His name was Benjamin Carmichael. They found him dead in your apartment 40 years ago. They found pictures that he had of little girls, terrible, terrible pictures. I can thank Anna enough for letting us stay with her until we found a new place to live. I still talk with her to this day. We moved into a new part of the city, and for the first time in a long time, it felt like we were finally moving on. But I will never forget what happened in apartment 36. I was alone in my house, upstairs in bed. My parents were gone for the weekend. I didn't mind being alone. In fact, I liked it. I didn't have to deal with my parents' constant fighting. I was scrolling through my phone when I heard something from downstairs. It sounded like voices. My parents are back, I thought. They must have cut their trip short. I didn't think anything of it, but after about a minute the voices got louder, then even louder. I realized then it was the TV. I went to the top of the staircase, and I saw that the living room light was on. I didn't remember leaving it on. In fact, I was certain I had turned all the lights out before going upstairs and going to bed. Even though I was nervous, I still went slowly down the stairs, turning on the light as I went. Down in the living room, I stood before the old couch and the TV across the room. The TV blared an old black and white TV show, but there was no one down here. I looked through the living room and then to the wide open walkway into the kitchen. In the kitchen, the light was on. I went to the kitchen, but there was no one there. I'm just crazy, I told myself. There's no one here. I must have left all the lights on and just forgot about it. But what about the TV? Strange things happen sometimes, I told myself. That was no reason to get worried. I turned the TV off, but I didn't feel comfortable turning the lights off. I left the lights on, even the ones for the stairs and the hallway leading to my bed. I got back in bed. I tried to call my mom, but she didn't answer. She sent a text back instead. "Hey honey, I can't answer the phone right now. Are you okay?" It felt kind of dumb to tell her I was scared when I was technically a grown adult. I told her everything was fine. I went back to scrolling videos, and that's when the TV turned on again downstairs. I sent my mother another text message asking if they were home yet, but there was no answer. I slowly got out of bed and went to the hall, but I stayed close to my bedroom doorway. I heard the TV on downstairs. It was blaring loud. "Mom?" I called out. "Dad?" No one answered. I was about to go downstairs, but before I even took the first step, the TV shut off. I froze. Something didn't feel right. Then, the living room light shut off. It didn't flicker. It didn't go out on its own. Someone had flipped the switch to make it turn off. My blood ran cold. "Mom? Dad?" I whimpered. No one answered. but at the bottom of the staircase, I saw someone's fingers curling around on the side of the wall. Long, white and bony fingers. I turned and jumped back into my bedroom. I shut the door and backed away. I didn't breathe. I heard silence at first. Then I heard slow, creaking footsteps on the stairs. They were coming up the stairs, and my eyes lowered to the little slit under my bedroom door where the hallway light shone in. Then the hallway light flipped off. I instinctively went to grab my phone out of my pocket, but it wasn't there. My stomach dropped as I realized I dropped it in the hallway. I backed up to my bed. I was so scared I dropped down and slid under it to hide. I covered my mouth and watched the space under my bedroom door. There was enough light from my bedroom that I saw two shadows of this man's feet step in front of my door. He was right outside. My heart was pounding in my ears. I couldn't feel my legs, I was so scared. My muscles were tense. I kept my hand over my mouth. Then, my bedroom door started to open. Slowly. It creaked as it opened about halfway, and I saw a pair of feet, wearing torn black boots, standing there in the doorway. And then, he raised his hand up on the wall and shut off the bedroom light. It was complete, pitch black darkness. I scooted back as quietly as I could until I hit the wall. I pulled my legs and arms against my body, trying to make myself as small as possible. He started whispering in the dark. "I know you're in here." The floorboards creaked under his feet and he approached the bed. I wanted to scream, but I shut my eyes tight and prayed that he wouldn't come any closer. I heard something slide on the floor near me. And then I felt a cold hand grab me. "I'm gonna take what I want from this house," he whispered. "And if I hear you scream, or if you try and get out of this room, I will kill you. Do you understand?" I nodded and said yes. He got off the floor. He went back out into the hallway. I stayed there under the bed, and from my position, I could see the hallway outside my room. I didn't see my cell phone. I think he had it with him. As I lay there, I heard him destroy the house downstairs. I heard glasses break, furniture get overturned. He started grunting and screaming. In another 10 minutes, I heard the front door swing open hard and crash into the wall. I was too afraid to come out from under my bed, so I stayed there all night and into morning. When I didn't hear him anymore, I snuck out from under the bed. I found my cell phone on the top of the stairs, and I immediately called the police and told them what had happened. My parents had tried to call, so I called them and told them what had happened. My parents raced home, and they found the house completely trashed. The intruder had taken my mom's jewelry from their bedroom and a jar of cash we kept on the kitchen counter as a rainy day fund. He had sliced open our leather couch and made cuts in the walls. My parents were just glad that I was okay. They caught the man a week later. He had broken into another house, and when they caught him, he confessed to breaking into my parents' house and terrorizing me. What's even scarier is that he told them if he could do it again, he would have killed me. My parents have never been comfortable leaving me alone ever since.